Devastating truths. The 6-year-old bride to a 29-year-old king, a royal horror never told. In the shadowy halls of a kingdom long lost to time, a scandal lay buried beneath layers of dust and deceit. Picture this, a 6-year-old girl, her wide, innocent eyes gazing up at the towering figure of a 29-year-old king. His cloak flagging in the muted light, he loomed over her like a dark cloud, shrouding her world in confusion and terror. Whispers of this twisted tale slithered through the castle walls, each echo ripe with horror. What kind of monster would make a child the bride of a man nearly 5 times her age? It was a question haunting the hearts of the kingdom's people. The first strange element surfaced with dreadful clarity during the community gathering. The townsfolk had gathered and gasped as they witnessed the unsettling sight of the young bride, trembling in her lace-trimmed gown. It looked more like a cruel joke than a wedding dress, the edges frayed, the fabric heavy on her small shoulders. Even the flowers she held seemed to wilt away in sorrow, their vibrant colors dimmed by the dark clouds of the rumors swirling around them. The king's subjects had spent sleepless nights wondering just how this nightmare would play out. Their imaginations racing with horror, tension grew when an old woman in the crowd, her voice trembling, recalled an ancient prophecy. The union of a child and king will bring chaos upon the land. She shouted. Gasps rolled through the crowd like rippling waves. Could it be true? Their eyes darted nervously toward the castle, shadows lurking behind the stone walls, as if they were eavesdropping on a tragedy unfolding. What fate awaited them all? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As dawn broke on the day of the ceremony, an eerie fog cloaked the castle, draping it in mystery. The villagers watched closely, breath held as they awaited the girl's arrival at the altar. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the plaza, extinguishing the torches and leaving only the flicker of uncertainty. Was it a sign? Eyes widened in fear. Hearts raced. What were they about to witness? The ground trembled with the weight of secrets, as if the very earth knew that something terrible was about to unleash. With every step she took, the girl seemed smaller, her shadow swallowed by the enormity of the moment. The king waited, a grim smile etched on his lips, happiness mingling strangely with the horror in the air. And just as the whispered chant began to rise, the crowd gasped not in awe, but in terror as cracks appeared in the ground beneath them. Would this day mark the beginning of their doom? What dark truths lay ahead? The earth groaned like a wounded beast, the cracks widening, threatening to swallow everything in their path. Gasps erupted from the crowd as some stumbled back, fear painted across their faces. The bride clutched her bouquet, hands shaking violently, her innocent gaze darting around in disbelief. The king, however, didn't flinch. His eyes glimmered with a chilling mix of excitement and malice as he took a step forward. Silence, he commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos like a sword. Instantly, the crowd froze. Do you not see? The prophecies are unfolding. Our union will reshape this land. Murmurs of disbelief erupted, mingled with cries of panic. Reshape it, or destroy it? Someone shouted, shaking their head in protest. The king, a figure once revered, now crafted a mask of anger. You dare question your king? He roared, the sound echoing off the ancient stone walls. Yet behind his bravado, a flicker of uncertainty flashed in his eyes. The girl remained frozen, a mere pawn in a game far more dangerous than her young heart could fathom. With every heartbeat, she felt the weight of the world pressing down on her, suffocating her in dread. What could this moment mean? Would she become the beacon of hope, or the catalyst for calamity? As the fissures spread across the plaza, dark liquid began to seep from them, pooling around their feet like ink stains, seeping into the very soil of her home. The air grew thick with a scent that was both strange and suffocating. Whispers of ancient curses swirled in the wind, twisting around the girl's mind, squeezing her heart. Above the cacophony, the old woman's voice rose again. The king's heart has turned dark. Only the pure-hearted child can break this curse. Pure-hearted? The king's laughter mixed with the tremors of the earth, a sound that sliced through the turmoil like a knife. She is nothing but a child, a tool for my ambition. With those words hanging heavy in the air, the villagers felt a collective shudder. Despair swept through the crowd, their loyalty trembling at the edges. Eyes turned to the girl, her innocence now a shining beacon in a sea of shadow. Could she really be their salvation? Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the cracks, illuminating the plaza in shades of fire as it shot upwards like a molten fountain. The commotion silenced as fear locked hearts in place. The girl shielded her eyes, but the radiance pulled her closer, urging her forward. "Don't look away. You have a choice," the old woman shouted, her face contorted with both fear and hope. But before any decision could be made, the light flickered violently, revealing glimpses of a dark figure lurking just beyond the glow, a creature cloaked in nightmares, waiting for its moment. Was this the embodiment of the chaos foretold, or something far worse? A deep growl resonated from the depths, resonating through the cracks, shaking the very foundation of the kingdom. The girl's heart raced, her senses heightened, a war of choices raging within her. Would she continue to walk into the light, take the reins of her destiny, and face whatever horror lay beyond? Or would she turn away, allowing the darkness to claim them all? As the radiant light dimmed, the choice loomed large. What path would she choose? And then the voice returned, echoing through the chaos. One must fall for the other to rise. Who would it be? The light flickered once more, harsh and blinding, pulling her deeper into its embrace. The shadows writhed just outside its glow, casting elongated shapes that danced in response to the girl's indecision. She could feel the scorching heat licking at her skin and hear the soft whisper of freedom beckoning her. But there was also a chilling growl, primal and hungry, rising from the cracking ground beneath her. Fear surged through her tiny frame, churning her insides. "You must choose." The old woman's voice cut through her panic, quaking with urgency. "To protect your people, you must confront either the light or the dark." To her right, the king stood rigid, fists clenched at his sides, the air around him crackling with his desperation. He was as much a prisoner of this moment as she was. The crowd, once a sea of adoration, now swirled with disbelief and dread, their eyes darting between the dark figure and their child bride. "What happens if I choose?" Her voice trembled, barely breaking the silence. The answer hung in the air like a weight. "If you succumb to the darkness, everything you love will perish." The old woman's eyes widened, shining with an urgency that suggested she had witnessed the consequences before. "But the light, it carries a price, too. Prepare yourself." With every heartbeat, the fissures widened, gaping like hungry mouths ready to devour what was left of her world. The darkness seemed to surge forward, its shape coalescing into something more substantial, something horrific. It emerged with sharp claws glinting like stolen jewels and eyes that shone with unholy desire. The creature lifted its head, exposing rows of jagged teeth. "Your choice is futile," it growled, voice scraping along her nerves. "Surrender to the king, or embrace the void. Either way, this land belongs to me." "No," the girl stammered, her voice rising over the rumble of chaos. She felt a swell of defiance, a flicker of light within her heart, but it battled the suffocating fear that had taken root. The dark figure laughed, a sound like crumbling stone. "This land has always been bound by sacrifice. Will you save a life only to doom another? Choose wisely, dear bride." She trembled, her thoughts racing. Memories flooded her mind, the laughter of friends, the warmth of her mother's embrace, the soft petals from the same bouquet she held. What did it mean to sacrifice a life? Was she meant to step forward and extinguish her own future to lift a curse she didn't understand? "I won't let fear control me," she declared, though doubt lingered at the edges of her resolve. The king's eyes flickered to her, caught somewhere between rage and desperation. "You are mine. You must obey. For this kingdom to thrive, I need your shut up," the girl shouted, furious. She turned from his fiery gaze towards the swirling light. With every step forward, a sense of purpose swelled inside her, challenging the darkness and the king's grip over her fate. But as she reached the light's edge, the world seemed to tilt. The ground beneath her feet trembled again, fissures pulsating with a dark rhythm. The realization struck her like a lightning bolt. Her choice would not only forge her destiny, but spill consequences across the kingdom. A loud crack echoed through the plaza, and the creature lunged, its claws outstretched. In that instant, as darkness lunged and light flickered, she understood. To rise meant to either embrace the unknown or swallow the burden of sacrifice. The moment crystallized, heartbeats amplifying into deafening roars. Then, a shadow flared within the light. One must fall for the other to rise. Who would prevail? And what depths would the girl plunge to uncover the truth of her power? The answers lay perilously close, veiled in the chaos swirling around her. Would she emerge a hero or slip into oblivion? The energy crackled, and for a moment, time hung suspended like a delicate glass ornament, teetering on the edge. The girl steadied her breath, eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching shadows. She could feel the heat from the light at her back and the cold sweep of darkness beckoning her forward. With every heartbeat, the stakes churned in her gut, and she could sense the world around her holding its breath, waiting for her decision. Face the truth, the old woman shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. Only in confrontation can you find the path that leads to your freedom. Freedom? The girl whispered, the word tasting foreign on her tongue. What does that even mean anymore? The creature lunged, dark tendrils of smoke spiraling around its form. It seemed somehow alive, each ounce of its mass whispering taunts, clawing at her resolve. You've already begun, child. This land, your people, nothing more than pawns in a game you cannot win. In a blur of uncertainty, doubt rippled through her. Her memories seemed like shadows dancing too far away, friends laughing in the sun, warmth against her cheek, moments that felt safe. She longed to grasp them, to use them as a shield against this nightmare. But with every flicker, they threatened to dissolve. You believe in light? The creature mocked, a cruel smile stretching across its jagged face. That choice is but a mirage. No light without dark, no savior without sacrifice. Embrace your power, child, or perish in the void. No, she cried, planting her feet firmly in the ground. I refuse to give in. There's more to light than you know. It felt both defiant and liberating, rekindling tiny embers of hope. The air thickened, charged with the weight of her fear and resolution. She took her first step, then another towards the light, wrapping her arms around the warmth like a protective cocoon. But the shadows roiled faster, a dark tide threatening to swallow her whole. The growling intensified. Your bravery is foolish, the creature seethed, claws swiping through the air, nearly grazing her skin. They will abandon you. Choose the king, child. You will find safety under his rule. But then she recalled the faces of her people, their desperate eyes searching for her guidance. Could she save them? They had loved her once, before this twisted game began. I'm not letting you control me. She felt the vibrations of the ground shifting, resonating with her determination. The king's voice cut through her thoughts, a herald of desperation. You can't do this. We will all be lost without your choice. His plea nearly faltered her, but she stood firm. The air felt electric. She could almost taste the clash of power before her. In an instant, the light surged forward, enveloping her in a haze of bright luminescence, whispering promises of salvation. The ground crackled and shattered, and the dark figure erupted in fury as the fissures spewed forth shadows. Foolish girl, it screeched. You will be the death of them all. Flashes of light and dark exploded around her, every color vibrant, yet menacing, swirling into something she struggled to comprehend. Veil after veil, layers of deception threatened to collapse. This wasn't about her. This was about the delicate balance of a kingdom at war with itself. In that moment of chaos, clarity hit her like a thunderbolt. She didn't have to choose one over the other. She could wield both. But the question remained, what would that mean for her and those she held dear? As shadows and light intertwined, a thundering voice echoed in her mind. Choose wisely, child. The fate of all rests upon your shoulders, and one misstep can tip the scales forever. What would be the final cost of her decision? The answers lay just ahead, shrouded in uncertainty, waiting to be uncovered. The burst of light consumed her, swirling like a tempest of hope and fear. She felt weightless, suspended in the chaos, but the thrill soon faded to a dizzying confusion. The last remnants of darkness clawed at her ankles, desperate to drag her back into the abyss. Then, all at once, clarity snapped into focus. The shimmering brilliance flickered, refining itself into a distinct path. She could see phantoms of her childhood dancing along its edges, and an urgent voice broke through the ether. You must harness both. They're your allies. Let go of this false hope. The creature's voice sliced through her mind again, jagged and cruel. What you think is light is a mere illusion, a shimmering trap to keep you caged. The shadows offer you power, a dominion stronger than you can fathom. No, she replied, her voice trembling but resolute. I will find a way. They need me to unite light and dark. I won't let fear drive me. With every ounce of her will, she surged forward, collapsing the distance between her heart and the brilliance. The shadows writhed, reluctant to yield, but for the first time, she embraced their essence. The chill of their touch sparked a fire in her soul. It wasn't just about resisting the darkness. She could wield it, bend it to her command. The ground began to shake violently, fissures opening further, revealing terrifying depths where unseen horrors lurked. In that moment, the king's voice echoed again, faint yet palpable from within the shadows. Do you think this is wise? People will see you as a monster. Or a hero, she shot back defiantly. They mustn't just see light or dark. They must see their true protector. Her resolve sparked a wave of energy, pulsating back to the raw heart of this conflict. The shadows, once hostile, started to heed her call, curling and weaving around her, now part of her essence. But even as she felt victory surge within her, a bone-chilling realization washed over her. What if she failed? What if both worlds turned against her? Her heart raced with the weight of countless lives resting on her shoulders. Behind her, the old woman's words whispered as if on a breeze. Confrontation leads to truth. But who has truth? The creature howled in anger, an echoing wail that shook the ground beneath her feet. What have you done? You've chosen despair. You've doomed your people with your naivete. A flash of light exploded from her core, stronger than ever before, as she understood her role not just as a solitary being, but as a bridge between realms. Each heartbeat echoed with purpose. She could feel the fear and anger of her people, the whispers of their faith, and even the darkness within them. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, an ethereal form dripping with malevolence, but shaped with delicate grace. You think you can master us? You will be consumed by this power. One slip, and all will be lost. The whispers dimmed, replaced by the rhythmic pulse of her heartbeat. The world shifted around her, colors merging in a brilliant tapestry of uncertainty. With a shudder of determination, she raised her hands, summoning the light and shadows to dance together in harmony. But as they collided, an explosion of raw energy erupted, sending waves of destruction towards every corner of the realm. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once, like a supernova fissuring the night sky. What have you wrought? The king's lament cut through the chaos. The fabric of this world is tearing apart. In that instant, she realized this was just the beginning. Could she truly maintain the balance when everything felt on the verge of collapse? The stakes had never felt higher. Would her actions save them or unleash a catastrophe beyond reckoning? The echoes around her turned heavier, pregnant with the imminent consequence of her decision. As shadows and light clashed in a kaleidoscope of destruction, she stood firm, heart racing, knowing a choice loomed ever closer. What awaited her in this maelstrom? The line between salvation and ruin blurred, and only one question remained. Could she wield the chaos to create order, or would she become the architect of despair? The brilliant clash of light and darkness swirled around her, a storm of fury and beauty, and in that chaos, she felt a hunger rising, a need to carve her place in this twisted reality. But maintaining the balance felt like walking a precarious tightrope over an ever-growing abyss. The shadows rippled, beckoning her with their seductive whispering. Embrace us fully, and you will know true power, they hissed. Their icy fingers wrapped around her, tightening, urging her to surrender. The warmth of light flickered, a flickering candle against a raging squall. No, she gasped, mustering her defiance. The brilliance in her heart surged, retaliating against the encroaching darkness. You aren't my masters. We are one. We coexist. She envisioned their union, light and dark intertwining, battling and dancing, forging a new reality. But the shadows snarled, showing her their teeth. Suddenly, the ground trembled with a deep growl echoing from the fissures yawning wide across the earth. The malevolent figure she had noticed earlier loomed closer, shrouded in tendrils of darkness. Its cold, sardonic smile chilled her to the bone. You are foolish. You think defiance will save you? You'll only drag your people deeper into despair. With her blood pounding in her ears, doubt wrestled at the corners of her mind. This is not just my fight, she yelled, her voice rising above the tumult. It's theirs too. And her words reached the hearts of her people. From their hiding places, they emerged, eyes wide with fear, but flickering with hope. They felt her determination, her pain, her growing power. A ripple of energy surged through the crowds as they raised their hands, summoning their fears, their hopes, joining forces with her chaotic dance of light and dark. But the ominous figure lunged, a tempest of shadows erupting forward. What they unleash will consume you. It screeched, and the ground beneath her splintered. Her people gasped, step by step giving way to panic. Stay with me, she shouted, her voice somehow cutting through the chaos. Together, we are stronger. She raised her hands, channeling their energies. The air shimmered, vibrating with a mix of fear and courage as light pulsed brighter, igniting the darkness with fierce tones of defiance. The shadows shrieked in outrage, their wrath doubling. Chaotic gales ripped through the air, and tendrils slashed dangerously close to her skin. Yet she remained resolute, heart hammering fiercely like thunder in her chest. She envisioned all that was at stake: her home, her people lost among the shadows, fading into despair. But with each flick of her heart, a new clarity emerged. Feel the truth, she cried, reaching deep into both light and darkness. It is in the struggle we find our strength. Unite with me. As the shadows danced closer, she plunged into them, letting the chill seep into her bones. Sacrificing her warmth to reveal their essence, she felt the shadows shift their anger, turning to something softer, something curious. She was forging an alliance, an unbreakable bond. Yet as she did, a sinister laugh echoed around her, tremors vibrating through the ground. You dare touch that which is beyond your control? The malicious figure warned, a single word weaving itself into the fabric of the chaos. Doom. In that suffocating moment, doubt returned, clawing back to the surface. Had she truly opened the Pandora's box? As the gathering energies spiraled into a blinding vortex, she couldn't shake the feeling that worse was yet to come. Suddenly, shadows erupted violently, threatening to swallow her whole. The air turned thick with dread, and a chilling realization washed over her. Could she truly harness the duality of her existence? Or had she unleashed a fury that would spell doom for all? The vortex tightened around her, a storm of conflict as her people screamed and faltered, caught in the maelstrom of fear. What if you become the very darkness you seek to defeat? The shadow sneered, stretching its gnarled arms towards her, and the ground shook beneath their feet, echoing with unsettled lives that the light flickered, her vision dimming under the weight of uncertainty. She felt the grip of fate closing in around her. The ravenous whirlpool of violent energy pulsated, threatening to erupt any second, crumbling everything she fought for. What had she set in motion? And as she struggled against the chaos surrounding her, one question lingered in the air. Was she the savior, or was she spiraling toward destruction? The shadows writhed and twisted, a living mass of chaos that threatened to engulf her completely. Breath came in short gasps as fear clawed at her throat, a visceral reminder of the danger that loomed so close. Her heart thundered, and all around her, the cries of her people echoed like banshees, amplifying the terror that slithered through the air. Fight it, she screamed, summoning every shred of courage she could muster. The words slipped from her lips like an incantation, igniting something primal within her followers. They rallied, and suddenly, her heart swelled with an exhilarating rush of energy. Their voices, trembling yet fierce, harmonized with hers, a symphony of defiance against the encroaching darkness. But the malevolent figure was relentless. You will fail. It lunged at her, sending a wave of shadows crashing down like a tidal wave. You think mere hope can combat the inevitable? I will harvest your despair. With a scream caught in her throat, she knew she had to act. This was no simple dance between light and dark, it was a battle for survival. Gripping the flickering flame of hope flickering within her, she spun, turning to face the shadows charging at her. Her newfound alliance, the union of light and the essence of darkness, swirled around her like thick mist. Together, she bellowed. They became one, each pulse of energy blending seamlessly. Blue and black streaks of light pierced through the dark, illuminating the heaviness of furious, breathtaking display that stung her eyes and filled her soul with inexplicable power. Embrace us, and your heart shall reignite. The shadows urged once more, tinged with desperation. But this time, it felt different. The whispers held a hint of reverence, as if they too recognized her as more than just a pawn. Pushing through the swirling mass of energy, she felt clarity wash over her. I want to be a vessel for despair, she declared, her voice steadying. I am the harbinger of balance. Each word ignited her power, and the ground trembled beneath her. Suddenly, she understood the shadows' true nature. They were not merely harbingers of chaos. They were the fears, the anxieties, the grief that had taken form, a representation of everything her people struggled against. With each whisper of strength coursing through her, she could see her people's fears manifesting, their shadows taking shape right beside her. What if I fall? She thought, the seed of doubt creeping back. Then the realization struck her like lightning. If the shadows were born of pain, they could also be the key to liberation. Together, she yelled again, heart thundering as she reached out. Their collective fears, united, created a whirlwind of light that shoved back against the claws of darkness. The tempest raged on, but now it was tempered by resilience, an unshakable force born from shared struggle and connection. In that moment, she dared to hope. She could feel the tide shifting. The malevolent figure hesitated, caught off guard, its sneer faltering as the cascading energy pushed back against it. But just as victory seemed within reach, the ground quaked violently, and a terrifying roar shattered the air. You think you can defy fate? The figure shrieked, its voice echoing like thunderclaps. For every choice, there is a price. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the terrifying figure's face, twisted in rage. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony that wrapped around her heart with icy fingers, clamping down and making her gasp. She had awoken something far darker than she anticipated. Was it too late to retract her bond? Or had she unleashed what truly lay at the core of her fight? As the shadows clawed desperately at her, seeking a way to counter her united force, one question rippled through the air, demanding an answer. What awaited her on the other side of this cataclysm? With the fate of her people balancing on a knife's edge, she braced herself for what would come next. The ground trembled, shaking the very foundations of their defiance. The air crackled with energy, a wild tempest that blurred the lines between worlds. She could feel the weight of despair in the shadows, the cold dread that seeped into her bones, threatening to pull her under. But the flicker of hope inside her blazed like a beacon, and she clung to it fiercely. Stand firm, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Her people, faces pale with fear, locked eyes with her, finding strength in her determination. She could see it, the flicker of doubt vanishing, replaced by a collective resolve. They were truly in this battle together. The malevolent figure stood its ground, eyes blazing with malice. You're a fool to think you can win, it rasped, every word dripping with disdain. Shadows swirled around it, growing teeth and claws, ready to tear through the light. She felt it then, an intense wave of anguish surged from the hearts of her people, a torrent of their fears pooling around her feet, swirling like a dark river. It was suffocating. Her breath caught as echoes of their pain washed over her. I don't know if I can handle this, a lump formed in her throat, but she shook her head, dispelling the thought. No, I won't be afraid. Gathering her resolve, she raised her arms high, channeling the energy rippling through her. Feel your strength, she commanded, projecting her voice over the tempest. Fear is only powerful if we let it be. Light burst forth from her fingertips, intertwining with shadows and pulling them apart, revealing glimmers of the people's hopes hidden just beneath the surface. For a heartbeat, she glimpsed their dreams, their laughter, warmth, and unfathomable love. It ignited something in her, pushed her forward, but the figure wasn't done yet. With a roar that echoed through the valley, it unleashed a wave of dark energy that swept toward her like a malevolent storm. You think your light can overshine the chaos? Shadows lashed out, ripping through her defense like knives. She staggered, the weight of shadows pressing down. A cold sweat coated her skin as memories of loss flooded her mind. I can't. I won't, she cried, desperate to turn back the tide. But it was too late. The darkness was here now. With every ounce of willpower, she focused on that fragile line between fear and hope. In that moment, the reality of their struggles became clear to her. The true battle lay not just in the physical realm, but within each heart encircling her. Each doubt, every grief, every flicker of light and shadow was a part of the whole. Join me, she cried, her voice piercing through the shadows. Together, we can rewrite our story. The shadows hesitated, suspended in the air. There was a spine-chilling silence, just the heavy heartbeat of tension and raw emotions suffusing the ground beneath her feet. Then it happened. One by one, her people raised their hands, willing to confront the darkness. For us, they shouted back, a chorus of unity that resonated in the air. The very fabric of despair cracked under the force of their combined strength. The malevolent figure shrieked in rage, blinding fury igniting its dark visage. No longer shackled by doubt, she pulled their strength into herself, feeling satisfaction bubbling deep within. This is it, she bellowed. This is our moment. We will not be defined by our fears. But just at the peak of their triumph, the shadows twisted into a horror she never expected. A dreadful truth unraveled, a terrible price that would change everything. As the realization set in, a silence fell. An unrelenting chill spread through the air, wrapping around her heart, squeezing. What dark truth had she awakened? What unimaginable consequence loomed? With eyes wide, she realized they hadn't just fought the shadows. They had unleashed something far worse. Was it already too late to turn back? What awaited them as they stood on the precipice of this new reality? The shadows twisted and coalesced above them, morphing into a form that was unmistakably dark and terrible. It hovered, an amorphous mass, pulsating with malice. And from within emerged a figure they all recognized, their own heart's greatest fears made manifest. No, no, she murmured, the words barely escaping her lips. It was as if the very essence of their despair had taken shape, eyes glaring with betrayal. Each face, each sorrow they harbored was now flickering in front of them, carving into the air and weaving a tapestry of agony that threatened to swallow them whole. Look, a voice shouted from the crowd, breaking through the encroaching darkness. It's the truth we hide from, what we tried to forget. Panic flared, and her people's voices, once a unified front, began splintering, doubts clawing at their feet, fears snapping at their heels. Shaking, she felt her own heart tremor inside her chest. The towering figure before them morphed, barely recognizable, shifting into people she knew, friends, kin, even memories of laughter that once filled her home. Racked with grief, her throat tightened. Would they be forced to confront the darkness that had lingered beneath their bravado? The figure let out a deep, rumbling laugh, vibrating the ground beneath their feet. You think you stand as one. Yet look around you. You hold shadows inside and you can't escape. Its voice wormed into the hearts of her people, and she could see their resolve waver, faces clouded with doubt. Don't listen, she shouted, desperation filtering through her voice. These are not our truths. We have fought too hard to let this darkness take us. She raised her hands once more, trying to summon the light that had shone so brightly just moments before. But the shadows wrapped around her limbs like chains, each memory tugging her further away. She could feel her breath hitching, the darkness much heavier than before. What if they had awakened something truly evil? What would the cost of their defiance be? Join me, the entity crooned, shifting into the faces they all feared, the failed ambitions, the lost dreams, the anguished cries for help that went unheard. You wish to rebel, but know this, every fear is a choice. Each doesn't merely exist, it's welcomed and embraced. A multitude of eyes flickered back to her, wide and afraid. They were teetering on the edge between hope and despair. "Keep fighting," she screamed, her voice raw and frantic. "This is our story. We define it, not this darkness." An echo of her words bounced back as if the shadows were savoring the challenge. Each cry for unity became more fragile, a flickering light struggling against an overwhelming tide of darkness. She could see their faces morphing, each person slipping further into uncertainty. Then the ground shuddered as a tremor surged again, rattling their resolve. Her heart raced, pounding like a war drum, matching the rhythm of chaos surrounding them. Fear threatened to swallow her whole, but she clung to the remaining threads of hope. Closing her eyes, she summoned all she had left within her. "We are stronger than this," she whispered, and suddenly, against the overwhelming force of their fears, another voice rang out, a small child's laugh, pure and innocent that a ripple of recognition surged through her. Yes, they had come together in defiance of fear. They had fought to unearth light amid the shadows. "Remember why you fight," she cried, her heart swelling with renewed strength. "For love, for hope, for the dreams yet to come." And just like that, the atmosphere crackled with energy, shifting in response. But the shadows recoiled, constricting tighter, sensing the counter-challenge in the air. A price must be paid. The dark figure howled, stretching its grotesque hand, reaching toward her as the air thickened with tension. She realized what was truly at stake. On this precipice stood not just her life, but the very souls of her people. The storm of emotions swirled, and a chilling realization gripped her heart. Were they ready to pay that price? With darkness curled around her, she whispered, "What? If the cost is too great?" And with every pulse of energy, the shadows quaked, as the answer loomed just beyond their grasp. The chaos erupted again, a brutal crescendo of desperation and despair. The girl's heart raced as the dark figure pressed in, a twisted silhouette forged from their innermost fears and regrets. It swelled, filling the air with a chilling presence that sought to extinguish the flickering light of hope she managed to maintain. But deep within, something stirred. A warmth, fragile yet unyielding. Memories of laughter danced through her thoughts, faces full of love, bright summer days filled with joy. They were bright against the encroaching darkness, providing the strength she needed to push back. "Stand with me," she cried, her voice emerging strong through the tumult. The shadows held her captive, but she didn't waver. "This darkness does not define us." At that moment, something shifted. Her people, once cowering under the weight of their fears, began to stir. One by one, they raised their hands, trembling yet resolute. The realization dawned, illuminating their hearts a simple truth. They weren't alone in this fight. Together, they echoed, their voices weaving a tapestry of strength that illuminated the darkened square. Each cry pulsed with energy, lifting her spirit, reigniting the flames of courage that had threatened to douse completely. As if sensing the change, the dark figure let out a thunderous roar. "You are nothing without your despair. You welcome your shadows. You embrace sorrow." It lunged forward, shadows whipping around like serpents, and she felt the chill run through her bones. But they held firm. "Keep fighting. We define our truth, not you." The girl pressed her palms together, feeling the swirl of light and dark within her. This was her moment. She would face the tempest head-on, summoning the deepest part of her heart. She concentrated on the fusion of light and shadow that coursed through her veins. "You are part of me, and I embrace you. Together we are whole." The shadows hesitated, a flicker of doubt shimmering across the dark figure's menacing facade. "No," it shrieked, the voice echoing with a cracked sense of panic. With her people rallying behind her, she pushed through the oppressive weight of darkness. "Your power is an illusion. We've come too far to retreat into fear." The ground beneath them surged as light pulsed brighter, each heartbeat weaving through the shadows, unraveling the knots of desperation. In that moment, she saw at the shimmering horizon of possibility beyond the shadows. It was a reckoning, a release. Breathing in deeply, she summoned the energy of her community, channeling their fears into strength, opening her heart to the burdens they bore. "Let us rise," she shouted, and they surged forward, hands extended toward the dark figure, a beacon of unity igniting the skies. The light exploded forth, enveloping everything in brilliance, spiraling against the shadows. The dark figure writhed, pain and anger twisting its features. "You will regret this." It roared, but the collective strength of their pain transformed, reshaping itself into resilience, hope curling around despair as sharp edges. And then, in blinding clarity, the dawn broke. The harmony of light and dark collided, intertwining, weaving a new reality where fears could no longer hold dominion. Suddenly, silence fell, a stillness that felt surreal. The shadows dissipated slowly, consumed by the vibrant burst of hope woven through their unity. The dark figure, once a figure of dread, collapsed, banished back into the abyss from whence it came. She felt energy thrumming around her, a song of rebirth echoing through the plaza. The onlookers gasped, uncertain yet hopeful. What had they achieved? Could they really be free? As the crowd erupted into cheers, the girl stood at the center, all washing over her. It was more than unity. It was a transcendent connection to each other. The weight of sacrifice had forged them anew. Together, she declared, her voice firm yet warm. "We are strong. We will rebuild, and we won't forget our fears, but embrace them. They make us whole." Slowly, the crowd surged forward, each embrace warm against the soft light of a new day. Together, they would forge a future, a fragile hope transformed into a passionate resolve. And so the girl, now not just a child bride, but a beacon of resilience, took her place among her people. A guardian of unity, a bridge between light and darkness. They would endure. She felt it deep in her heart. They were free to write their story, one filled with warm laughter, hope, and understanding. As the sun rose higher, painting the world in golden hues, she smiled. The darkness had tried to claim her, but she had claimed her truth. Now, it was time to live. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this heart-stopping ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's your time to shine with us.